new developments regarding Glarbtron. Couldn't wait any longer.
This is a big one.
With us today, very thankful to have these two from San Francisco and Grand Forks, North Dakota. Dr. Daisuke McBoneseen and Bosco DeGama, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yes, we are extremely grateful to have these two here. Glarbtron has really taken off, not only as a field of study, but, the applications for mechanical engineering, culinary arts, you kind of name it. These guys have been at the forefront. Dr. McBoneseen, first of all, thank you for being here. Before we get into kind of the developments, the history, your path through this new discovery, why don't you kind of give us a preview as far as a little bit of an overview, but what you're excited about these days regarding Glarbtron?
Yes, absolutely. As you know, thank you. I must say thank you for having us on again to discuss our recent advances in Glarbtron research. It's very exciting to be with you on the show. I know you guys have a very wide audience, so we're excited to put the message out and get people excited about the kind of research that we're doing now. So recently, this is a many-faceted area of study, but recently we have been collaborating with a group at Pfizer. And as you know, we are in the middle of a pandemic currently, COVID-19 pandemic, and we at G, the organization which is primarily taking the brunt of the effort in understanding the manifestation of Glarbtron on planet Earth, we have licensed some of our research to the biopharmaceutical company Pfizer. And we're very excited to, with their announcement, that they have used some of the secrets in order to unlock a vaccine against this horrible virus, SARS-CoV-2, which causes the COVID-19 disease. So very excited about that. That's just one facet of the research that we're doing here. We have a program on fusion, nuclear fusion, which is getting very interesting. And of course, we are just probing Glarbtron's depths in order to learn more secrets about electron tunneling and quantum transmissions and things of that nature. So very excited about the wide variety of research programs that we have, and particularly about the cure which we've helped to generate along with Pfizer.
Unbelievable, unbelievably
Amazing.
fascinating. So we definitely want to get to that. And on top of that, we know that time is of the essence. So we really appreciate your time. Every second you spend with us means countless lives lost. So before we get into what the meat of this conversation, I'd really like to, for those that don't know, I'd really like to offer our viewers and listeners a background on Glarbtron. I think no one is better suited, perhaps, than Mr. DeGama. If you wouldn't mind, perhaps, what led you into this field? How did Glarbtron make itself known to you?
Well, that is a fantastic question, and I would love to share how that came to be. Many have theorized that Glarbtron has been around for eons, of course, but it really didn't come to be known as most of us know it today until the fall of 2006, where it manifested itself in the upper Midwest. Most researchers maintain the epicenter was Moorhead, Minnesota, and so it was from this area where Glarbtron came to be known and it was seen across college campuses. It was seen on whiteboards and bathroom stalls. It was seen on T-shirts. It really just started quite rapidly being seen in so many areas, and that was what was so exciting at that time, was something that people sort of thought they had heard about, that no one really knew what was going on, but then all of a sudden it exploded, and that was really an exciting time. So that was when it came to be known on my end.
Yeah, and we know there's a deep and celebrated history for cutting edge research at Concordia. Dr. Daisuke, you've been heavily involved in the research and application for T cells, and I know that part of that research led you into a much finer understanding of the ubiquitousness of Glarbtron. Can you explain a little bit of the comparisons, but also the vast differences between those fields of research?
Yeah, very good question. As Glarbtron was sort of being uncovered or manifesting in Moorhead, Minnesota, my colleague and I just happened to be at the right place in the right time. And I was involved in a research program at this college, Concordia, and we were actually studying the ecology of the area. And what was very interesting is we were recognizing Glarbtron's manifestation in bringing energy and new life to the liminal spaces, especially around the Red River of the North and the oak savannas in the area, which had been ravaged by invasive pests. And Glarbtron actually, it seemed, was important in driving these pests back and bringing native species back to the area. So it was incredible that in that short period of time, we started to notice that Glarbtron manifesting itself in so many different ways, from ecology to physical sciences, and ever since then we've just been noticing the presence of Glarbtron in so many different areas of science and of psychology and philosophy as well.
That really is amazing. I have a question. With such an interdisciplinary concept, where has Glarbtron itself taken the two of you personally and professionally?
Well, that is a great question. I guess the best answer would be everywhere and nowhere. That would probably be the best way to put it. But Glarbtron has spread so rapidly and so far that's kind of been, if you could trace the path of its travels, you would find all areas of the country and most areas of the globe, which is such a fun path to track. And one of the most common areas to track it has been through sports teams, whether it's intramural teams, whether it's youth baseball teams, whether it's adult recreational teams. It seems to heavily follow areas such as that, and it seems to have a strong penchant for flying disc sports. There's been a strong correlation with whether it's ultimate frisbee, especially, could be disc golf, could just be any sort of sport with the flying disc. It seems to be strong in those areas where those are represented.
Daisuke?
Yeah, honestly, Glarbtron, again, we were just so lucky to be at the right place at the right time as Glarbtron was sort of making itself known on our corporeal plane. That I, being a researcher, sort of rode the wave of Glarbtron onto a PhD, finished this studying nothing but Glarbtron in various fields, and honestly, where Glarbtron has brought me mostly to places like this. I spend 90% of my time in the laboratory studying the different manifestations of Glarbtron. I often sleep in the laboratory, I eat in the laboratory, because I'm absolutely obsessed with understanding this mysterious force. Behind me is it's an instrument called an optical lattice, and this is just one of the instruments we use to study Glarbtron. But this instrument essentially allows us to use electromagnetic radiation to capture Glarbtron in a sort of cage of light. And I'm sure you will put on some fancy graphics here for your viewers to allow them to visualize this. But once Glarbtron is sort of held in this cage of light, we are able to probe the force using various spectrometers just to try to understand a little bit better how Glarbtron moves, how it permeates different aspects of being, and how it behaves as sort of an animating force for life on planet Earth.
Yes, and as our lead scientist, Dr. McBonestein, he really covers most of the scientific material, whereas myself, I'm more interested in the sociological effects of Glarbtron and how it affects people. And one of the great changes and things that I've gotten to see is how certain groups of people react to this force, how they're introduced, how they carry on with it, and the communities of people that I've been fortunate enough to meet and to work with over the years is just it's been so rewarding, and to pair the science with the sociological side, and really to see the two merge is what keeps me going every day.
Mr. De Gama, just to elaborate on that, I know that you've spent extensive efforts and resources on the applications for not only North American athletes, but also Northern European, particularly Scandinavian athletes. What are some things, when someone really buys into the concept, when they know that they've got something special in front of them, if they only put their mind to it and have their wits about them, what advantages can these athletes expect?
Well, a great advantage that one can gain is just the perspective that one looks at life. And when you can approach, whether it's your athletic event, whether it's your daily struggles, whether it's whatever it is that you are encountering that day, if you can approach it with from an everything or nothing, a Glarbtron point of view, the benefits are just astounding in terms of what people can expect. When people, the people that have struggled the most, they really have no place in their lives. They seem to have no place for absurdity or ridiculous things. They sort of embrace the mundane aspects of their life, and Glarbtron really can be a combatant to the mundane battles that one faces in life. And Dr. McBonestein can attest to this. Somebody might think working in a lab all day could be, some might say boring, some might say mind draining, but Mr. McBonestein, doctor, the way he approaches it through his research with Glarbtron, he can really attest to what you can gain, not only from an athletic point of view, of course, but it has cross cultural benefits here. It can benefit any area of life.
I think the ramifications are huge.
Mm-hmm.
My colleague Bosco is very humble. He doesn't mention the research that he's been doing into the meditation on Glarbtron and Glarbtron as a mantra. Bosco has done some very interesting work in, what year was it? About 5 years ago, where he showed that athletes who hold the concept of Glarbtron in their minds when they're training have enhanced basically muscle growth and athletic capacity. So it's not only a mindset and a psychological benefit, but there's some mysterious force at play in assisting the response of the muscle and of the vasculature and to the physiology of the person who holds that concept of Glarbtron as a mantra in their mind. He should mention that.
I was lucky enough to be in college in a very in a state of having a very sponge-like mind, but the actual recommended practices weren't publicly available till much later, and you, I think, benefited more so, John, from
Absolutely.
those findings. I don't know. I like the story about even like the school photos. You should brief everyone.
Yeah, I often get credit for that, for finding Glarbtron for my high school class, but honestly, it found me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, like Bosco said, it's all about the mindset, just the collectivism, the glass half full. Just that mindset is just almost overwhelming, and it was more so understood that everyone just should take school photos freshman year to senior year wearing their Glarbtron shirt. It's honestly the least we could do.
Right.
Just show our support.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I can't take any credit for that.
John, we just have to interject there and just let you know. I don't know that you always hear it enough how much Dr. McBoneson and I appreciate your efforts in that, because you really were one of the pioneers in the school photo area of Glarbtron, and that's something we do appreciate it.
Well, thank you for your kind words, but just merely a droplet in a bucket full of Glarbtron.
Or empty.
Or empty.
John, I have to ask, why do you think that as a young lad that the Glarbtron was so appealing to you, and as well as your schoolmates and your team members, your youth baseball team and everyone, your friends? Why was it such an appealing concept for you?
Why was it appealing to me?
Yes. Why was it such an appealing concept to you personally, and why would you theorize that your schoolmates also found it enticing?
For me, it came down to the collective mindset we all felt, the positivity. You feel everything, but at the same time, you just feel nothing. And we all just lived for that.
Sure.
Especially in high school when your mind is really forming, you're hearing all sorts of schools of thought, and you just want something to keep you grounded. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense to me, but the best part is that I've never heard it phrased that way, because it can mean so many different things for so many different people. It has a meaning. Everybody has its own personal discovery and meaning to it, and that's a beautiful way to phrase it.
So, looking ahead, obviously, the two of you specifically have made leaps and bounds in your specific research. What can we expect 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What is the future of Glarbtron?
That's a great question. I think I will defer to Dr. McBoneson, but the future really is now. And I think Mr. McBoneson could share some of the breakthrough research, a little bit more in depth of this inoculation you referenced earlier.
Yes, actually, this is something that we are trying to keep sort of hush-hush here at G, but I think I can tell you guys. I mean, it's just us here in the room. So as part of this vaccination that we've collaborated with Pfizer, we've also incorporated a sort of inoculation, and it's an inoculation which it really permits an adaptation to allow people to sort of receive the sort of wavelength of Glarbtron that we've identified, which is kind of vibrating in the universe. And what it amounts to is a physiological adaptation, which permits people to appreciate the mundane, the inane, the chaos, and generate order from that chaos and appreciate sort of the inanity of our existence. And we think it will do great things in helping people understand the plight of humans in the universe, and also the true reason for which we're all here on this planet.
Doctor, could you quickly distinguish some of the differing research results you found between animals, vegetables, and minerals?
Yes. We find that it's very interesting recent research we've been doing into animals. We find that animals are especially attuned to picking up these vibrations of Glarbtron, while vegetables are almost completely impermeable to any effects of Glarbtron. Any understanding, any rationality, any reasoning of this force is completely lost to all vegetable kind. And this is something we are trying to understand. We're just now delving into the research on minerals, but yes, this is a very exciting finding. We're trying to understand the differences between these two orders, and how we might be able to open Glarbtron up to be accessed by vegetable kind.
Yeah, and I think it goes without saying, we could do an entire podcast on vegetables, and the fallacies therein, the just lackluster spirit, the apathy, all that stuff, and despite the fact that there are more so than ever before, what hope is there moving forward? We have this research, we have these developments, but again, we have the vegetables. And what hope is there for making progress at the same rate at which we've experienced? And what can we hope for? How good could it be? But if we don't understand quickly, how bad could it be?
I first want to talk about how good it can be. And this is really an exciting aspect of the research that we've been doing currently. And this is something that we think will probably be 10 or 15 years down the road. But what we see Glarbtron as now is a unifying force. And it's a unifying force that has the opportunity and the potential to bring together all matter in the universe. And it is through this understanding of Glarbtron that we will achieve a singularity, a oneness of being between all beings, all animals, vegetables, and minerals, and Glarbtron. So though, of course, vegetable kind cannot seem to interpret Glarbtron, it simply does not matter at this point, because if we achieve the goals that we seek, all animals, vegetables, and minerals will be swept along in a wave of Glarbtron, and we will all join together in a final singularity. And that is really the ultimate achievement. That would be the crowning achievement of our research.
What's on the other end of that? Where could we be, if things don't go the way that we've planned?
Well, it's a troubling thought, but the optimistic point of view, of course, is that because we haven't fully unified yet, there is, we're still working towards that. So we have a glimpse of what it could be now. Just take a look at our current world's landscape. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and could further pandemics continue? Well, of course they could. We are hoping that they, of course, do not. That we will be fully equipped to handle such disasters should they happen again. And I think Dr. McBonestein, I think it could be time to share a glimpse of this upcoming celebration we have for this this inoculation that has been discovered, because it really is worthy, and I think it's time that people heard what is being celebrated and how.
Yes, of course. As you know, with each advancement in Glarbtron research, we have a celebration. And usually we all take part in celebration together, of course. It is a nationwide holiday. People celebrate in the streets, come together, they eat, they drink, they are merry. But of course, with this pandemic, we celebrate sort of, separately. And of course, every year at the time of the celebration, we release the ceremonial garb, which will mark each passing discovery. And we perhaps 7 years ago we developed a cure for the swine flu, which transformed countless millions of humans into pig creatures, and we celebrated with this shirt here. And this year's big advancement has been our research into the COVID-19 vaccine. So this year we will be celebrating with the release of another shirt, celebrating the incorporation of the secrets of Glarbtron into this vial, and the curative nature which protects against this virus, COVID-19.
Amazing. And I know that Glarbtron do what it do, so to speak. It becomes known, it becomes unknown to those who seek it. But I guess it's safe to say that those who, want more information or want to be a part of this celebration, especially in this year, given the circumstances, what is the recommended way to get involved, to become educated, to become fully immersed in Glarbtron? Well,
the first step, Paul, really is just admitting that you are ready, and it's not an easy one for most, but it's easier for some. 13-year-old John he jumped at the chance as soon as he could, so perhaps it's easier than it is for others. But I think one of the easiest methods would be to obtain either DVD copies or just search on YouTube and watch every single episode of The Adventures of Pete and Pete, formerly aired on Nickelodeon. Can't stress enough how vital that production was to and is to Glarbtron research. So that would be a start. Other than that, they of course can leave comments on this podcast. They can contact Twin Tandem Studios, and then they can also always send carrier pigeons or whatever method of communication they would like. Your direction, my direction, Dr. McBonestein's direction.
Whisper it into lilac flowers and throw it into the wind.
And we will get them the information they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Degama. I think it's pretty clear there. The singularity is out there. It's attainable. But the faster we can get there, the better. I think we've done our small part today. But ultimately, it's the two of you in the trenches. Finding new things, doing the research, putting boots on the ground. I guess I just really want to just say thank you to the two of you for continuing to do the good work that you do.
It's my personal pleasure, and I want to thank you again for your efforts in Glarb evangelism and spreading the word. Glarbtron is everybody and nobody.
And I'll just reiterate, if I can, that of course you mentioned it's us two in the trenches, but the world of Glarbtron is not just us. As I mentioned, we have met so many fine folks. There are so many brave souls out there doing their own research, spreading their own words, and we would be remiss if we didn't include our network, our complete network out there.
Absolutely. Cheers to them. Greetings to all of those fine folks. Wish we could have them all on. One of these days we will. We'll get out of this pandemic. Thank Glarb. But really, guys, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
We appreciate all that you guys do.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you next year, I suppose.
Yep.